This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Doll. We are situated here between April Fool's Day, Good Friday, and Easter
Easter.
Sunday.
Oh God, what a shit sandwich this is.
Well, let's talk about the Easter Bunny for a minute because
Sure.
an Easter Bunny, I mean, it can be, it's a pagan symbol. It can be traced back to the 13th century pre-Christian Germany.
Go ahead. I'm already interrupted. I'm already interrupted because Christmas, like all the traditions that Christmas, Easter, that the Christians have appropriated. It seems like the traditions are all pagan.
We're going to get into that anyway.
Okay.
Pagan, they're worse than pagan. They're perverts. The Easter Bunny actually goes back to the Oster Bunny, which kind of means, because the bunny is a sign of fertility. So during the vernal equinox, beginning of spring is when, the pagans and the witches would celebrate the festivals in the spring and fall. And the bunny was a symbol of fertility. Now, why the bunny would deliver eggs? Well, because eggs are also a symbol of fertility. So it's kind of strange. And then because Christians were trying to convince people to come over to their religion, they thought they would tasty it up with some freaking chocolate. So that's how the Easter Bunny and Easter kind of were crammed together. How about the Easter Bunny? Like they say, did the bunny die? If you're pregnant or not. I mean, that's kind of...
What the hell? Have you ever had those Cadbury chocolate eggs? Those things are pretty intense. But yeah, the idea of kind of making a concept between eggs and chocolate, just that idea alone seems kind of like...
Well, I mean, look, first of all, if there's anything that Easter gave us, it's some extreme rituals the world over.
Cool.
I especially love the ones in the Philippines, where men actually are ridiculous enough to not only flagellate themselves unto being completely bloody, but usually 8 or 9 of them get crucified. Yes, they do. And unfortunately not upside down, because most of the early crucifixions actually were upside down. And now this is for the enactment, which so ridiculous to me is, we're enacting a Marvel comic. In my opinion. I'll get into that in a minute.
I want to hear what that is.
So we'll get into it. Let's not forget my father was a door-to-door Bible salesman, and honey, he was not religious. How about we've never been there during Easter, but in the Czech Republic, some women, that is the hotties that men are after, men actually, to this day, go after them and whip them with willow branches. And if she likes you, if I don't like you, I'm going to slice your fucking nuts off. But if she likes you, she might give you an egg or a shot of whiskey.
Or absinthe, maybe. Did you know that Czech Republic is the most atheist country in the world? And, or I'm sorry, it's now officially called Czechia. We no longer call it Czech Republic. But anyhow, that's besides the point. It's the most atheist country in the world, and it's borders and touches Poland, which is the most Catholic country in the world. But they're all Slavs. They're all kind of from the same tribe. So I don't know what the fuck's going on there. But keep on.
I have to say a few things that I like about the Czech Republic is the only place I saw a well-dressed 75-year-old granny pickpocket. I have much respect for that.
Oh.
And also outside of Prague is Kutna Hora, the bone cathedral that's filled with hundreds and thousands of bones from the plague victims made into sculptures, chandeliers, of which I've taken many photos. Now, when speak about whippings, no apologies, in Paraguay, it's becoming a little bit less common, but it's acceptable to give a light spank to children as an Easter blessing. Yeah. And children were actually eager for the Easter blessing because it meant that they could start the celebration and, get the eggs and the candy.
All that stuff. I mean, Paraguay, that's one of the roughest, most violent countries in the world right now. So you got to celebrate when you're in those conditions.
Well, in Denmark, they're a little bit different. I mean, the children, I don't know why Easter has become Halloween there, but children dress as witches and warlocks, and then they go begging door to door for chocolate eggs. I mean,
in Denmark, you said?
In Denmark. What the hell?
Yeah, what the hell?
All right, now let's get to the country of my foremothers. In Sicily, parts of it in Prizzi mainly, locals wearing absolutely terrifying masks, like devil masks and red robes.
Scary.
They go around pestering as many people as possible, mostly for free drinks before afternoon.
Cool.
Because then the devils, that means them, are chased away. Now, having lived in Spain for 8 years, I mean, the festivities there at Easter are some of the most demonic I've ever witnessed. First of all, it's Semana Santa. There are in every neighborhood these huge parades where there's these giant wooden sculptures, people walking inside them, of saints and clergy, and celebrating or remembering the death of their Jesus. But they go down every neighborhood, and it's just very, very weird. Now, also the clergy, not to mention some of the processions in most of the villages around Aragon, wear these robes. The Ku Klux Klan stole the costumes from Semana Santa, and they have these pointed, exactly like the Ku Klux Klan, only better colors and made of better material, with pointed hats, which mean that reaching up to the heavens. But one of my favorite celebrations in Spain is the Calanda. Calanda is where there's 9 other villages that start these drum corps at midnight on the Thursday before Good Friday. So midnight Good Friday. And they actually rampage, drum corps, hundreds, sometimes thousands of people in their Ku Klux Klan gear with armbands, looking very satanic. And the sound is completely satanic, playing the drums until noon the next day.
Now you're talking.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Jesus while we're at it. And I'm not the only one who thinks this, by the way, that Jesus was gay.
It's funny. I know I've heard of it maybe, but I really know nothing about this rumor.
Well, let me fill you in a bit. So
yes,
a consecrated Episcopalian bishop, Gene Robinson, who's also an LGBT activist, openly gay priest, if only they'd all frickin' admit it, wrote a couple of books. Jesus acted up a gay and lesbian manifesto and the queering of Christ. Now, I might go a little bit further than Gene Robinson by saying, not only do I believe that Jesus was gay, and that would be one of his better attributes, but I think it was a gay drug dealer who was actually killed by the cartel. Look, Jesus supposedly, if he existed, hung out with prostitutes.
I think he did exist. But...
call it what
wait, coming back to life, that's another thing. But I'm saying the actual dude.
Well, I'm going to get to that. Had 12 male disciples, some of which he called his beloved. It was weeping at Lazarus' tomb, telling him to come out of the tomb. And look, by the way, at that time, it's not as if. Let's go back to the wine. Who knows what was in the wine? Well, before wine, there was drugs. And trust me on this. There is an ayahuasca type drug called Hormel that is in the region. There's also acacia trees, which is like DMT. There's mandrake. I think that Jesus was roofied, went to lie down, rose up, and the cartels killed him. That's just my feeling. I'm just saying.
There are rumors. There's so many different rumors about that. There's rumors that the mother of Mary was actually raped by a Roman soldier, and then she would get killed if she actually made that accusation. So then she made up that I was just impregnated. But in terms of being a drug dealer,
I'll say a distributor because look, I mean, all the visions people were having. Come on, honey. You know what I'm talking about.
He was a Jewish hippie. Of course he was around psychedelics.
Come on. What else are you going to do? 40 days and 40 nights. Turn the water into wine. Walk on water. Hey, come on. We've had greater hallucinations than that on various substances. I'm just saying.
So what about homosexuality during the Roman Empire? That was pretty, accepted, right? I mean, I definitely with the Greeks, but I think with the Roman Empire, it wasn't such a... all of it makes sense. It all makes sense.
Well, look, let's just go back to what happened after so-called Jesus and talk about the rise of the Catholic Church in most of Europe. Were basically just land barons and were persecuting, prosecuting, and killing people for shit that they did, like acts of perversion, as we know still how many billions the Catholic Church has had to pay out on sexual abuse charges, celibacy bullshit. Just saying. And by the way, I'm very happy to report that this year there has been a drop in 50 a 50% drop in people going to places of worship. Peak was kind of in the 50s,
it's a
60s,
pandemic. 70s. That makes sense. So in a pandemic.
Yeah, well, you know what? Your Jesus ain't going to save you because they didn't frickin' he might have existed, but hey, look, man was not created in the image of God. God was created in the image of man. So he's something to blame his fucking infantile rage. And I'll talk about that later. Go on.
When you were a kid, did you ever have to go to church, Lydia?
I went to a Catholic school right around the corner. I had the priest finger up the back of my dress. He smelled of booze and cigarettes. Boy. The nuns would try to tell me my skirt was too short. I was wearing too much makeup. I said, my mother works in the rectory. They couldn't do a fucking thing.
Nice.
I got out of there quick. Once I read one of these coffee table style gilded Bibles my father was selling door to door just to get into women's houses. I said, this is fiction. And I have to say, it wasn't long after that I found the Marquis de Sade, and that made more sense to me than the Bible. I'm just saying.
Okay.
So, I mean, to me, look, it makes sense that Easter, the resurrection, comes right after April Fool's Day.
I did a little research on April Fool's Day. There's a lot of debates about it because many, many countries celebrate this and the origins and blah, blah, blah. And now it's referred to in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, the classic English book from 1392. And there's a reference to it in the tale. It's called the Nuns Priest Tale. And there's, I don't know, something involving like chickens and foxes. And this is what grabbed me because they kept on referring to this Fool's Day as the 32nd of March. That's what, but this is where it gets interesting. Recent scholars in the last 50 years say it was a bad translation from Middle English, and it was supposed to be 32 days after the end of March, which would be May 2nd, which also happens to be yours truly's birthday. It's my birthday. It's the real April Fool's Day.
You know what? I think that makes far more sense.
That makes sense. So basically, there's only one. It's not even a country, just the region, the Odessa region, the city area of Ukraine. It's a actual holiday where people take the day off. Everyone else is just like, oh, April Fools, and they have parades. They go really fucking nuts.
Well, supposedly in Europe, I mean, on April Fool's Day now, I mean, you can do or say anything you want until noon, and then after that, that's a cutoff point, which I think that's kind of cheap.
Well, I've heard that. So England kind of refers it to more of like April Fool, not fools. Like, and if you're the victim of some brutal, mean English hazing, you are an April Fool, which sounds pretty terrifying. Now Scotland, Huntigawk Day is what they call it, which it's kind of morphed. It's the translation is basically hunt the gawk, and the gawk is this kind of foolish person, and I think they just fucking like Scottish rage. They like just really fuck the person up. And if you're chosen to be like just like the nerd or whatever the fool is.
Well, you know what? I'm going to wait till your birthday to celebrate it. And then we could pull some pranks on other people. I mean, we usually do anyway. I'm just saying.
I'm all for it. Because more attention on my birthday. I can't wait. I just want tons of attention on my birthday. Yeah. All right. So of course you deal with the Scotch, Irish, you have the Gaelic thing when they call it running the cuckoo. So I it's like running with the bulls. I guess it is like kind of like, come on, move along. Yeah. I don't know who they pick, but they pick someone. It's basically like, keep on going. Sounds pretty cruel and mean. Now, in the Irish, in their literary fashion, they deliver a humiliation in the form of a letter. So you kind of, what do you think when a stranger, here's a letter. Oh, someone gave me mail. They don't connect that as April Fool's Day. So they open it, and then, of course, they're like, send it to another person. You have to keep the fool thing going. So it kind of brings together their kind of literary side with their kind of superstitious curses and all that kind of shit that they're into.
Tim, what's your favorite holiday besides the fact that every day is my birthday and I love to celebrate it every day? But do you like any holiday? You'd like to celebrate them. I mean, you like to cook on holidays.
I like to, it's not that I'm celebrating the actual symbolic day, but when things are all shut down, you might as well make the most of it. I have my 4th of July traditions, which is including going to Coney Island and seeing the world famous hot dog eating contest. Thanksgiving, there's usually, a big.
I was there.
It's an excuse. It's an excuse to wolf tons of food and get wasted.
That's why I love you, Tim.
I mean, I kind of like Christmas Eve because that's kind of a feast. That Christmas, I don't have kids and like the fucking presents in the morning. I don't know about that, but
you know what? You're half the time you're childish enough that you don't need fucking kids, or as I like to say, you might not have kids, but would. A baby would want you because you're just such a nice guy.
Well, a better question is which holidays do I not like? I'm not really. I never got into New Year's. I never decided what the fuck's the point of that thing. Like, yay! I don't want to celebrate with everyone at the same time. I want to celebrate against everyone sometimes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hooray! Like, isn't your birthday your New Year's? The Roman calendar New Year's makes no sense to me. I mean, I know we have a great Valentine's Day special usually, and we've played great concerts on Valentine's Day, but just the commodification of Valentine's Day. I can't
stand New Year. I can't stand New Year's Eve.
New Year's is just so dumb.
It's dumb.
Hey, Halloween's kind of fun. I mean, I don't really dress up, but it's. As a kid, you could vandalize. You could just do all types of.
I'll just stick
to shit.
I'll stick to Day of the Dead.
The Polish Prima Aprilis, which is basically just insane pranks that they do, and you basically can't take anything seriously on that day. They really dedicate to the point where on April 1st, 1683. The Polish did of course, in great Polish fashion, they did an anti-Turkish alliance treaty with King Leopold I. They're like, fuck those Turkish. Other countries are pretty good about like pretending they're not racist. The Polish are pretty like, yeah, yes, we are. So yes, basically, they had the treaty, but they're like, oh no, it's gonna be signed on April 1st. No one's gonna believe it. So they actually had to move the treaty to March 31st because no one would think it's true. And then lastly, I'll go with the Scandinavians. Too many. Scandinavians is just kind of. It's like it's going to a concert in Scandinavia. It's kind of bland. It's basically like they have one headline in their major periodicals, and it's like, hey, that's fake. Like, yay. Italy, France, Belgium, French speaking part of Switzerland, parts of French Canada. They call it April Fish Day. And there's like a paper fish that they tag on your back, so you're like some dunce.
All right, this tie it up, Timmy. This is
this
we're getting low on the total.
Right.
Tim, what's in the headline?
Well, we got some headlines. So I don't, for the listeners of last week, there's something about men's assholes in Thailand because last week there was a 59-foot worm pulled out of a guy's ass. So this week in Thailand. Man goes to sit in the toilet and he's like dum-de-dum, he's doing his thing. And he's like, what the hell? There's someone just took like a baseball bat to my ass. What the hell's going on down there? Stands up and there's an 8-foot python that was in the toilet. He was lucky it didn't bite him in the ass. But it was like, they're like, hey, the door's, whatever was going through the python's head. He's like, it's suddenly dark. So it's kind of lunged and just basically head butted his ass.
That's one reason why you should always close the toilet lid when it's not in use for you. Well, in New York especially, because you don't want a rat to come up through it.
Good point. I mean, listen, he might have been single because men don't have the courtesy to close the toilet that often. We know that, guys. So he stood up. He's like, oh my God, what do I do? And he had some weird reaction that was very ineffective. He started dumping laundry detergent on the fucking thing.
Okay, so wait a minute. Did it just jump up? Wait, did it jump up and bite him? Did it headbutt him up the butt?
I don't think it knew what was going on. It's probably sleeping, and then suddenly just lights went out, and they didn't know what was going on, so it just launched forward to kind of see what's going on and slammed into his ass. So then he had to call the fire department, and they had to. I wonder if he actually defecated on it. I didn't even think about that.
Well, that would be enough to make it headbutt him, that's for sure.
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, but speaking about assholes, there's plenty of that in the news as always. So go ahead. What have you got?
Ghislaine or Ghislaine or whatever.
I like to call her Ghislaine.
Yeah, they added another 14-year-old girl who's added to the list of her sexual trafficking list and grooming and
Well, what about the woman that came out and said who was married? I think she was Turkish, who they seduced into having sex with both of them and then threatened her by taking her to a lake and saying there's alligators in there and we'll feed you to the alligators.
that's just a horror movie that doesn't seem to end. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, wait, is her trial happening like soon? I think so.
I think it's supposed to be this July. I'm not sure.
July? Okay, yeah, it's soon. It's just in a couple months. Matt Gaetz, is that his name? The congressman? Yeah, he had
one of the worst assholes on the planet.
So yeah, it was a 17-year-old girl that he was flying around hotels. I don't even know what the fuck's going on. He was close with Trump. I guess there was a Tucker Carlson interview where he was acting really insane. Of course, he says it's a massive smear campaign. There's a big conspiracy against him.
Even Tucker Carlson, king of all lies, didn't believe him. Said it was the most ridiculous interview he's ever done.
Well, he's got his lawyers, and this guy's in a sinking ship. You're not gonna jump on that ship with the guy when it goes down like that. So this is kind of interesting. I think it's a German or a Swiss German. Scientists have been doing studies on implanting and reversing false memories. So false memories are a major problem in the judicial system because people can have false memories that are so vivid, almost more vivid than the real memories. We don't, humans and our hallucination abilities and our mass hysteria can get pretty far out. And they have to study this because people are going to jail, people are being ruined, and it's not like the people who have the false memories are necessarily bad people. It's complicated. So they did all these studies. They had like 30 people or something, and they basically had them observe or experience real things, and then they had them kind of in their minds just kind of repeat about these false things. And over time, they actually show that these people have these insane details about these false things. And so now they're trying to figure out how to reverse it. And it's very early in its study about, basically they're saying like, can you unravel, for instance, if someone was brainwashed in a cult or, any type.
Well, also one of the early questions was, where is memory stored? I mean, is it in the brain? Not really. Is it in the mind? Is the mind the brain? That's another question.
And our different senses can trigger different memories. So the smell sense is connected is with some of the most vivid long-term memories. So if you to trigger memories from like way long ago that you can't believe
I
remembered, smell is often one of those things that can really launch that off. And so actually now with the COVID, people losing smell, it's not like, oh, I can't taste my food, and there's all this other shit that goes along with it. That's pretty it's ain't cool,
Well, and that kind of reminds me of this series I'm watching called The Confession Tapes. And it's about how after like 7, 8, 10, 11 hours, and this is a very typical thing in the U.S. non-justice system, where when cops are interrogating you, basically because they want to blame you for something, they will eventually break people down in just that short amount of time to admitting whatever they're feeding into them, which to me is just outlandish. I don't know why people just don't shut up, say, I need a lawyer, or don't say anything. It's you're fucking wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, and you're wrong again.
Most people are dumb. They have the right to say, I'm not going to say anything. I want a lawyer. And they should do that because they're going to be fucked. They don't know how the system works. But also, it's illegal in most other industrialized nations to lie and create false claims in order to trick people. They actually can only bring up factual things. So I don't know how the entrapment laws work, but it just seems like that's entrapment.
Well, anyway, I've been watching a bit of the George Floyd trial, and if this motherfucker doesn't go down and get a fat sentence, show the video again and again. And the thing is, one guy that was there on the scene who they interviewed yesterday, who was an MMA fighter and was a security guard at some of the places that Chauvin also securityed at on his off time, was telling him he knew exactly the kneeling on the neck, what it was doing. And he was trying to there were numerous people trying to tell him, what are you doing? 9 minutes of people on the sidewalk, at first calmly. There was an EMT firefighter woman who was going, let me give him medical attention. This is just outrageous, but this is the American non-justice system. This has got to go down in the people's favor for once.
The police union is so powerful, and they have
they're already in trial. So you know what? The evidence is there. You can't take away the video evidence. It's there. You don't kneel on somebody's neck for 9 minutes who's just lying there.
You're preaching to the choir, but we've seen it time and time again. These scenarios.
Hey, I try not to even sit on somebody's face for 9 minutes because I'm afraid I'm gonna fucking kill them. I'm just saying. Anyway, yes. What else? Because you know what?
All right, we can go on another day. We'll go further into the whole Floyd Chauvin.
We'll know more next week.
Thing. Yeah, and that fucking person that called the cops about the fucking counterfeit 20. I think it was was it like a kid that was doing the job?
Look, it was a kid because if you don't report it, if you don't get that money back, they dock it out of your pay. So I saw
much
him
stuff coming to a head. It's insane. So much shit coming to a head. And if Chauvin gets off, I mean, hey, retail stores, you better have that shit boarded up because this country's going to explode.
As it should.
So, do you know about death streaming, Lydia?
What?
Death streaming. It's becoming a big trend. You know, I think it's really big in Russia.
Would be. What is it?
And I think the Russians actually call it trash streaming, but there's YouTubers that are basically getting people to pay money as they torture, sometimes kill, maim, whoever they want to. It's totally sensational. It's super brutal.
So it's snuff YouTube?
Basically, it's like Videodrome or something. It's pretty insane. I mean, there recently a pregnant woman was killed. What else? They buried a homeless guy alive. I mean, real brutal fucking shit.
So why is this still up on YouTube? Because there's so much up there people can't figure out.
Good question. I don't know.
Tim, I don't even go on the normal web unless I have to do research, and I'm not researching that. There's enough murder. Damn fool. I do not need to see that.
No, there was a famous one.
Okay. Sorry, but I have to say this.
Yes.
Do you know anything about the 35,000 strong female militia that's taking on ISIS? All I need to say is, Annie, you might have to get your freaking gun because all of this kind of shit, which is outlandish, has got to be dealt with. Yes, it's got to be dealt with. And the thing is, does violence, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be controversial, but pretty much violence has settled almost every historical situation. I don't know what to do. It's out of control. Oh, is it better because we got Biden? Let's hope so. This is the Lydia and Span with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. Happy April Fool's Day, Good Friday, Easter. Don't believe in any of that shit. Most of it's all a freaking joke. We have Paul Toupet, one of my favorite visual artists who designs all kinds of surrealistic, delightfully scary bunnies. This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and one of my absolutely most adored and favorite artists, Paul Toupet, who's living in Paris and does incredible sculptures, mostly with things based around bunnies.
Very appropriate.
And since it's our Easter special, welcome, Paul. How are you?
Je vais bien, merci. Thank you.
You're always very good. We met more than a decade ago. I can't remember, neither can you, but maybe 15 years ago or more, when you had a show, an exhibition in Paris, and I was coming, and you held the show. You did not take the show down so that I could see it. And that's when I fell in love with your art and you, and then had some of your sculptures in my exhibition. And hello, here we are.
Oui, yeah, mais...
So the answer is yes. There was no question here.
Mais oui, c'était quand on m'a dit que tu devais voir ce lieu pour exposer, j'étais à fond, j'étais trop content de pouvoir te rencontrer. C'est pour ça qu'on a gardé cette exposition plus longtemps.
I'm saying that when he learned that you were going to visit, he was so flattered that you were going to come, and he liked you so much that he decided that there was no way that he was going to miss that. So that's why he delayed the end of the show.
Well, what's interesting is So I asked him to have some of his sculptures in my exhibition, but at one point, because he was making these bunny masks, I said, let's decorate one together.
Donc, vous avez décidé de décorer un des masques de lapin ensemble.
But we drew the exact same thing, and it was the way he used to have his hair as a teenager. So we knew that was it. It was very bizarre. He said, why are you drawing this on his bunny mask? And it was the hair he used to have. Okay, question. Why the bunnies?
Alors, en fait, tout simplement, le lapin, c'est mon totem depuis tout petit. Et ça m'est resté et ça me semblait totalement logique de faire tout mon travail par rapport à ce totem qui est en moi. Et c'est ça que j'essaie de faire. Toutes mes sculptures sont des autoportraits et qui racontent mon enfance. Et c'est un mélange entre toutes ces influences que j'ai eues tout petit. Et ce lapin, je me cache derrière ce masque de lapin.
No, so Paul is saying that this has been his sort of a totem, if you can use this word in English for totem in French is the same word in English, that since he was a small child, that he's when he's actually making representations of bunnies, he's actually representing himself. He's actually making sort of an auto portrait of himself. This has always been the case. And
all right, well, so in France, rabbit is a delicacy and a common dish. Has Paul ever mangé down a bunch of fucking rabbit in his life?
Donc, est-ce que Paul, en France, c'est quand même un symbole culinaire, le lapin, on en mange beaucoup. Est-ce que tu aimes le lapin? Est-ce que tu as déjà mangé du lapin?
Je n'ai jamais mangé de lapin et je ne mangerai pas de lapin de toute ma vie. Jamais.
Okay, I've never eaten a rabbit in my entire life, and I will never eat rabbit.
Oh my God. What about peeps? Do you have peeps in France?
They don't have peeps. That's disgusting. Oh, it's disgusting.
There's not even a French word for it. I'm sorry.
Have you ever feared being eaten by one of your bunnies? Because they're quite terrifying, especially when there's a whole room.
Étrangement, non, j'ai jamais eu peur de me faire manger par mes sculptures. Enfin, et là, maintenant, mes sculptures sont plus dans ma chambre, mais avant, ma chambre, quand j'étais adolescent, était remplie de sculptures tout autour de moi. Les gens avaient peur de ça, mais moi, je n'ai jamais eu peur de mes sculptures, même quand elles étaient tout autour de moi toute la nuit. Donc, non.
Okay, so he was never afraid of his sculptures, especially at first when he was a teenager. These sculptures were in his bedroom, so when he was sleeping, they were around him. Other people were very worried about them, but he was never scared, or he never made any nightmares about them.
What was your first remembrance of, did you have with your family, for instance, Easter or celebrations? Were you celebrating Easter as a child?
Ouais, ça a été important d'aller chez mes grands-parents pour faire avec toute ma famille, avec mes oncles et tantes. Mais j'ai juste des souvenirs d'enfant de chercher les œufs, mais c'était pas, pour moi, ça n'a jamais eu une grande importance. Les fêtes, on n'est pas très fêtes.
Easter has never really had any importance for me. We did go to see, of course, family, my grandparents, and we did go looking for the eggs in the garden and go egg hunting and that sort of thing. But no religious whatever thing related, celebration related to Easter, just more a cultural thing, you would say now, a cultural celebration of Easter.
So what's a typical French cultural Easter dinner like? What would you say the typical one looks like?
En France, j'en ai aucune idée. C'est de manger des œufs en chocolat comme tout le monde. Mais non, il n'y a pas. Je n'ai aucune idée du dîner spécial français pour Pâques.
Excuse me. First, what would Paul eat? Because I know he's a vegetarian. Yeah. Was he always a vegetarian, or just since his obsession with bunnies? And then you could tell us what the French.
Yeah, I want to hear both. Yeah.
Non, je suis devenu végétarien il y a à peu près 15 ans. Ouais. Et d'abord, c'était de commencer par ne plus manger de mammifères, car je voulais plus manger d'animaux mignons, que je considérais comme mignons. Puis peu à peu, voilà, ça a continué dans le végétarisme, voilà, comme ça. Mais au début, c'était ne plus manger des animaux que je ne pourrais pas tuer moi-même.
Okay, so 15 years he's been vegetarian. At first, it was really, I do not want to eat cute little animals. I don't want to eat them, and that was the main aspect. That was the main aspect from I don't want to eat something I can't kill. That's the idea. But to answer Tim's questions, in France, at Easter you would have lamb. That's the thing you would have. Yes.
Oh, I did not know that. I did not. Not bad. That's my April Fool's joke of the day. All right. But do you have chocolate bunnies? Going back to the bunny thing. I mean, do you have the chocolate in the morning, the candies? Is that part of French?
Mais en France, oui. Mais oui, bah oui, mais je ne les achète pas spécialement là. On fête pas Pâques, surtout en ce moment. Enfin, je m'en fiche.
Of course, he says we have Easter eggs and we have rabbits and chocolate and all that stuff. So it's not different from. He doesn't give a shit.
I want to hear someone say peeps in a French accent, actually.
I want to hear somebody say peep show in a French accent.
Exactly. They must say, because do they call them peep shows in like Pigalle, where you have all the live night
Le
stuff?
peep show. Okay, hang on. Let's get back to the serious nature of this. So, Paul, you are not religious. Thank the God that does not exist. But some of your installations have almost a religious feel, like the Nativity. You've done this, and it's not satanic, it's not religious, it's mythological in a sense. What is the relation to that? I think I even saw maybe you recreated the Pieta with bunnies. I'm not sure. Yeah?
Ben oui, mais parce que pour moi, alors je ne crois pas en Dieu comme tu sais, mais pour moi, l'art religieux est tellement beau. Enfin, j'adore être dans une église, j'adore ça. Et c'est tellement fort et même les histoires de Jésus c'est de la science-fiction, donc elles sont super belles à la base. Et toutes les religions devraient être très belles. Mais oui, j'adore l'art religieux, j'adore le Christ. Il est tellement beau déjà.
So yes, he does not believe in God. I am not religious, but
Wow.
I love religious art. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And I love to go in churches and see religious art, but I don't believe in God.
That's fair. So speaking of art, what do you think of Jeff Koons' bunny sculpture?
No, I don't like.
I hate.
Whoa, okay.
Hate is the word. Okay, Paul.
Nice.
Paul, as a teenager, you were born in 1979.
Yeah.
I love you. What was influencing you in music or films or movies? What were your big inspirations? And when did you first begin making sculptures? Did you start by drawing or by making sculptures as a teenager?
En fait, j'ai commencé par le dessin quand j'étais tout petit. J'ai tout le temps dessiné. Et en fait, j'ai commencé la sculpture adolescent en achetant des petites poupées avec un ami, parce que on avait lu dans une interview que Kurt Cobain avait plein de poupées chez lui. Donc, adolescent, on s'est dit, on va acheter des poupées et on va faire comme lui.
Okay, so I started by drawing. I started drawing when I was a small child, and when I became a teenager with a friend, we became interested in sculpture because we bought dolls, and we were interested in dolls. We liked dolls, and we saw that Kurt Cobain had dolls, so we were going to do like Kurt Cobain and have dolls. And that got us into sculpture. That got me into sculpture.
Et voilà, et des poupées j'ai commencé à travailler sur les poupées et c'est devenu des sculptures peu à peu, entièrement faites en papier mâché. Mais d'abord, c'était des poupées.
One of my
He
dolls.
started with dolls before going to the bunnies, before going to the sculptures, and he was doing papier mâché, and then he went to sculpture. I went to sculptures. I should say I.
In the beginning, most of your work was monochromatic. It was one color or no color or white or gray. And you could never tell what these sculptures were made of. Sometimes they look like metal. Now you've incorporated more color into your work.
C'est que au début, j'étais très influencé par l'art africain parce qu'il y en avait beaucoup chez mes parents et j'ai beaucoup travaillé là-dessus. Donc les couleurs étaient avec de la terre, de la cendre, de la cire. Et
Okay, at first I was interested in African art because there was a lot of African art at my parents' place. So I was interested I was influenced by that.
And that's also why some of these sculptures have almost what looks like dreadlocks coming out of them. I mean, that's the African influence in the work in the beginning and still.
Et il y a quelques années, j'ai fait une exposition dans un musée à Paris qui s'appelle la Halle Saint-Pierre. Et j'avais une place énorme. Et donc, j'ai décidé de faire mon mausolée C'était la mort de mon personnage. Donc, je voulais tuer cette partie de mon travail qui était très sombre, enfin en terre, et je voulais le refaire renaître plus tard, et c'est devenu des sculptures blanches après ça.
I did an exhibit a few years ago, and I had a lot of space, and I decided that this was going to be the end of my work with clay, and I sort of became a mausoleum. I put all the stuff that I had done in clay, and I decided this was the last time. And after that exhibit, everything became white.
Et après ça, je suis parti sur un nouveau cycle. J'ai fait des sculptures tatouées en bleu, et je continue à évoluer, essayer de trouver toujours un nouveau cycle. Et j'aime bien travailler par cycle.
I like to work in cycles. So after this exhibit, I also started a cycle with blue, and every time I tend to work by cycles. I like to renew myself regularly with a new color.
The new stuff now starts to look almost like tattoos on porcelain.
Ouais.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
I will be waiting for my own private little bunny. No problem. Sebastian will send it to me. So are you now on the next cycle? So now you had the blue and the white cycle. So are you now contemplating the next phase, or are you into the next phase?
Yeah. Justement, là, j'ai une très grosse exposition qui va arriver en juin, qui a été décalée à cause du confinement. Mais ça m'a permis de travailler sur des nouvelles choses. Pendant le confinement, je me suis remis au dessin. Donc, j'ai fait beaucoup de dessins, même des dessins érotiques, ce que je ne faisais jamais avant. Et là, depuis quelques jours, je commence à penser à encore un nouveau cycle qui va arriver, et je commence à travailler sur des nouvelles choses. Donc, ça va arriver, encore des nouvelles choses pour les prochaines expositions qui arrivent en juin.
So if of course COVID has interrupted everything, but I have hopefully a new exhibit, a big one in June if things reopen, and I'm back into doing a lot of drawings. So I'm going to be doing a lot of drawings, and I'm going to have many things available because it's going to be big in June, and I will. So drawings will be the most important part, but I'm going to also start a new cycle of things.
Want to jump in, Tim?
Have you ever heard of the bass player Bunny Brunel? He's a famous French jazz electric bass player. Played with Chick Corea. Never mind. That one fell flat. So, I don't know what to say. What about that documentary about the colony of bunnies in the Berlin Wall that they lived in a utopian existence during the Cold War because they had no predators attacking them. They had all this protection of like barbed wire and armed guards, and they just kind of generations were observed. Did you ever see this documentary?
I think there's also an enclave in Japan that's like, they have the cat island. I think they also have the bunny island.
Oui, ça je connais. Oui, je connais cette île et j'aimerais, mais j'ai jamais été. J'étais au Japon, mais je ne suis pas allé sur l'île Lapin, hélas.
Oh, I know about that.
What about Furry Fandom?
Are you talking about plushies?
No. For plushies, is that what they're called?
He's not into plushies. Okay. There's not much more to ask you, Paul, because we want to show your art, and it's fantastic, and it's perfect for Easter. And no, we are not religious either. I'm strictly the Church of Satan. Not really, because that one doesn't exist.
Oh, right.
I have my own church. And much luck in the future, and talk to you soon. I hope to come and see you soon.
I hope to see you both soon. We're getting our vaccines. I'm gonna have my second shot by the 18th of April.
I have my second one in
maybe Europe will let us in some points. I mean, can France, Italy, all these places endure a summer without dollars coming from all over the planet?
Well, actually, if I come to Europe, it's to take your money, not to give you any. And, much love, Paul Toupet, beautiful bunny boy, great sculptures. I can't wait to see you, and good luck with the next.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you very much. I'll be in touch soon, okay?
Okay.
Bye, you two.